Hello, everyone. I am
Hi,
Lindsay,
Roomies. I'm
and that
Maria.
that is Maria, and we are two former college roommates, and we are reviewing the Great White Hype today. I have
Yes,
a degree in film, and Maria has been doing reviews on movies for practically the past 20 years, right?
practically, yeah, just
Yeah.
about.
Yep. So we are together today to review The Great White Hype. The Great White Hype came out in 1996. It stars Samuel L. Jackson, Peter Berg, Damon Wayans, uh, Jamie Foxx, and a list of other people. Jeff Goldblum, he's in it as well.
John Lovitz, Cheech
No,
Marin is in it.
he's- yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
very
it's
recognizable comedians.
yes, yes. Quite a few people are in it in this ensemble cast, and let's go on ahead and get into it. So the beginning of the movie takes place with Damon Wayans as a boxer. His name is Roper, and
Does
he
he put
is
you on the ropes?
right, right, and he is an undefeated boxer, and he has
Heavyweight.
knocked heavyweight at that, right? And he has just knocked out his latest opponent. However, his promoter slash manager, who is played by Samuel L. Jackson's character,
Yeah,
um,
Reverend Sultan, I believe.
yes, yeah, Reverend Sultan, one hell of a name.
Right.
But yeah, so the promoter basically finds out that they did not make any money off of this latest fight, even though they guaranteed Damon Wayne's character, Roper, $10 million. So he gets pressed by Roper for his money, and he tries to finesse him,
Because he's
which
a manipulator. He is a master manipulator.
master manipulator. And with him trying to be this master manipulator and trying to finesse the situation, um, we get bless you. We get the impression that this is not the first time that has happened. Um, so Roper is really pissed and he really wants his money. They're trying
Yeah,
to
because
buy
because
themselves
he's
some
saying
time.
buy him some other like another
And
car, whatever
Rolls
car it was.
Royce,
Yeah, and he'll
Rolls
have like
Royce,
8 of
yeah,
them. I was like, oh god, okay.
right, right. And so Roper is not falling for it. He wants his money, which rightfully so, because he just was in the boxing ring getting toe up, even though he won. You know what I'm saying? So doesn't work. So he tries to still manipulate the situation. He's like, oh yeah, just go sell all my jewelry, my house, my
Right.
cars, sell
Once
everything
he starts off
and
with "I love you, you're my brother," you know.
yes. Right. And so, him trying to say, I'll just sell everything, fire everybody. We'll go into chapter 11, bankruptcy, and then we'll settle with you for pennies on the dollar. So that kind of like messes with Roper's head, of course, for his money. So he's just like, this is some BS, basically. And then, you know, um, what was his character's name again?
Who?
Uh, the preacher.
Reverend Sultan?
Yes, Reverend Sultan. Sorry. So Reverend Sultan is, pretty much finesses his way out the situation or whatever and buys himself a little bit more time. And he comes up with this great idea because basically um the seats aren't selling, the pay-per-view isn't selling because they're tired of what did he? In his words, he says they tired of niggas fighting niggas.
Right. And the
So,
movie opens up with these two black scorpions fighting by the side of the road, right? Fighting, fighting, fighting. One scorpion kills the other one, but then they're both killed by a passing car.
right, right. So that's a really big metaphor for the whole movie.
Right. Message.
So, right, message. So, um, with this going on or whatever, um, he comes up with this idea that he needs to get a great white hope, which basically is a white opponent to fight Roper. And
Mhm.
that would give people, in the seats, people buying the pay-per-view for them to have a really big payday.
And when you
Uh,
suggested this movie, that's of course what I thought of in the beginning.
mm-hmm,
Because if you're familiar with Jack Johnson, he was a boxer like in the early 1900s and 1910s, 20s, and he was just beating everybody, right?
right.
Jack Johnson, this big black man beating everybody, dating, marrying white women, just being a
Mm-hmm,
rich, whatever. And that's exactly what happened. They hired,
mm-hmm,
this Irish boxer, literally called him the Great White Hope
right.
to fight Jack Johnson, and Jack Johnson beat him.
Beat the crap out of them. Right. And it also happened again with Mike Tyson.
I'm
He
not
fought some
surprised.
Yeah, he fought an Irish guy. I forgot his name, but he fought that guy as well and beat the crap out of him.
Oh,
But
what was that fight?
um
It
I'll
was
have to
before
go
or
back
after
and
the
look at it.
movie.
Yeah. It was before the movie. It was
Okay.
before the movie. Because the
Because I
movie
was
is
thinking
kind of
that because in
loosely
'97 he bit. That's when he bit Evander.
right,
So.
right, right. So the movie is kind of loosely based on the Mike Tyson fight.
Mhm.
So yeah. And the movie is shot kind of like in a mockumentary style. So and it kind of like parallels this is Spinal Tap in certain ways.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they try to, go through a bunch of white opponents to see who will make sense with fighting Roper. Nobody made sense. And then one of
And,
the
and,
employees,
and in that scene, they're like reviewing like tapes of all these different fighters, right?
right.
And so it's '96, so they're reviewing VHS tapes. And so Marin is like, "Oh, I got a new assistant, whatever." And he hired her because she's, really cute, and her name is Bambi, right?
Hmm.
And she's played by Sally Richardson, who's been in a lot of movies, but like
Yeah.
one of my favorite roles of hers was like in Black Dynamite. So good. But they
Yeah.
are so mean to her, like all the
Oh
time,
yeah. Yeah, they're
without
extremely mean to her.
apology.
Right. And she's the smartest one in the room. That's the
And
crazy thing.
nobody stands up for her,
Yeah.
which is just
Nobody.
crazy to me. Because like in that scene, she's like, "Well, I have an idea," and she's the one who comes up with the whole idea for the fight.
Yes.
And when she said that, they're like, "Shut up, bitch!" And I'm like, "What the hell?" Like
Right. Right. It was so random. It was
it
so
was
random.
so mean. And
Yeah.
there's another scene, or it's later in that same scene where they get held up by the two who are trying to fight Roper, but they not fighting him because they consider them small time basically. Um,
Hmm.
they come through Reverend Sultan's house with guns, hold guns on everybody. Reverend Sultan got his own security, and so they win that, and so they leave or whatever. People are embarrassed or whatever, and they
Hmm.
cuss her out, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right. Like it was her fault. Like it's
And then
crazy.
right, and then like in the very next scene, uh, the character played by Cheech Marin, like Julio, gets like insulted by a reporter, and Reverend Sultan stands up for him. I'm like, y'all couldn't do that for Bambi. She's the entire reason this movie even exists, and y'all just let her. She just got to catch it.
Right. 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 But I mean, it just plays into the whole thing in real life. Like people have, like women have gone through this for decades. You know what I'm saying? Like they let, or not they let, but somebody takes the credit for their idea and then they get insulted in the process. So, like this,
At least
this
let her
movie like
get back.
parallels a lot
This is a
of stuff
this
that
is a
really goes.
comedy. You know what I mean? At least let her
Yeah.
get back. They could have done that, but whatever.
Yeah. Right. But I think the comedy is in the irony of the BS that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because she is literally the smartest one in the room. You know what I mean?
And after
So
that, she
yeah.
never speaks again for the whole movie.
Mhm. Right. Right. So yeah. That was crazy. But but yeah, so they I forgot where we left off at.
Well, they're reviewing the fighting tapes, and they,
Oh yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
with the idea,
Right. She comes up
but
with the idea to, go back and get the guy that beat Roper before he turned pro, which was a white guy. And this guy who Peter Berg plays, his name is Terry Coughlin. He's in Cleveland as a indie rocker.
hmm he kind
And
of sounds like a little bit of Soundgarden, a little bit of Nirvana,
yeah, like all rolled up into one. And he's a ladies' man, but he cares about the homeless like big time.
supposedly.
Supposedly, right? So they go to Cleveland, they go to one of his shows and whatnot. So they go backstage and they try to convince him to get back in the ring. Initially he's reluctant. But because the Rev is a master manipulator and a great finesser, he does
And
convince
Terry is
him.
very dim. He is not a bright man.
No, not in the least. But they do convince him to go on ahead and take the fight.
Yeah, they tell him he'll be able to end the homeless problem. That's what they call it, the homeless
Hmm.
problem, which is like such a strange phrase to me.
Right.
But they're like, you'll be able to end the homeless problem in America forever with $10 million. What?
Right. Not even in 96 would that be possible,
No.
but okay. Right. But he doesn't know. So he just heard $10 million and in homelessness. So yeah. So he goes in ahead and takes the fight, and then they go back to Vegas, and they start training him, along with announcing that he is going to be the next person to fight Roper. Um,
And one of the training scenes, just some of the things in this movie, like
mhm,
I would, some of the lines are so offensive. Like I wouldn't
yeah.
not repeat them in public or on the internet. Like, but in this particular scene where he's like
Mhm,
training, he's just beating this black guy who's training with while wearing a Confederate flag shirt. And then
yeah.
he tells him, "Stay down, boy." And I'm like,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know. But it also seems like he may just like be fake all around and have absolutely no kind of like no beliefs at all, really, because he talks a lot about the homeless situation and homeless problem, and then he's also like, I hate racism, but then you're also doing this, like what is real?
Right. Right. It's so much contradiction in his character. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because it just really doesn't seem like he just really knows which way is up. You know what I
And
mean?
he's not even Irish, and they're like, oh,
No.
the Irish Terry Conklin or whatever.
Right. Now, now I know like the person that fought Tyson was Irish,
Mm.
but I don't know too much about the history with Irish people. Like, are they like low key racist with black people or high key racist with black people? Like,
Yes.
they are. Okay. So that
At
would make
one
even
point
more
in
sense.
American history, the Irish were not considered white, right?
Now, yeah. Now I did know
Irish
that.
and Italian people were not considered white. But once, whiteness was like, we need to increase our ranks. Oh, Irish and Italian people can be white now.
Mhm.
So, you get a lot of people. There was that whole stereotype about Irish people being policemen or whatever. You
Mhm.
get ingratiated into the power structure. And so, yeah, it got super racist, especially in places like Boston.
Yeah, which Boston is still and forever will be known as a racist place.
Man, I
Not
went
even
to
gonna go
Boston.
down that rabbit hole.
Mm, no thanks.
Yeah. So then that makes all the more sense why they was like he needs to be Irish.
Irish.
Yeah. So because what the Reverend is trying to do, he's trying to play onto the racism in America to sell this fight,
Mhm.
because it's a black man and a white man, and they want to see a white man beat a black man in boxing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. This is one thing like the movie is really clear on. Like
yeah.
as it goes further, as it gets closer to the fight, you see more and more white people like in love with Terry, especially white women.
Mhm.
Like, in love with Terry, just a big fan. Can't wait to see him on the fight. Buying, betting on him in Vegas because it's all in Vegas,
Yes.
stuff like that. Hmm.
Yes. So while this is going on, we have this freelance um journalist who ends up getting engulfed um in the whole situation of the fight leading up to the fight, and that's Jeff Goldblum's character, which
Yeah,
his name is Mitchell Kane. So yeah, so he ends up working for them, and um he's part of the whole promotion crew, and he's a great finesser and manipulator as well.
well, at
And
first he was doing a whole expose, right?
right,
He
right,
was gonna take Reverend Sultan down, this man of greed, da, 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 whatever. And
right,
he's gonna confront him in his hotel suite, and he sells out immediately. Like
right. It was that
immediately.
quick. It was that quick, and he like went right on into his role, no problem. You know what I'm
No.
saying? And he got really engulfed in it. So he's a part of the crew now, and they are really trying to sell. So then we have like this whole little sequence of them really trying to sell this fight, trying to sell what was his name again? Oh, Coughlin. Trying to sell Coughlin to the world. He's done all these covers, he's done these interviews. They're playing up his looks, they're playing up his whiteness, and it is selling. It is working. Meanwhile, Damon Wayans' character Roper don't give a damn about this fight at all. He's like, I'm gonna win because I'm black, and that just is what it is.
Hmm.
He did
He's
not
not
give a damn
training.
so much. He did not train. He's gotten fat, visibly fat.
And oh
So
god, they put this prosthetic tummy on him, and it's just like,
yes.
okay, all right.
So then we get to the weigh-in.
And like he like disappears for a good portion of the movie.
Yeah. His
I'm just like, what's he doing?
right. Because like mainly the movie for me, it's not about the fight. It's about what all entails to build up to the fight, because the fight is not that big moment
The
in the
fight
movie.
lasts 27 seconds.
Right. And then Damon Wayne's character really ain't needed that much in the movie. He's not the main character. Like,
It's
like
just
he
that
just
you
don't
would
give a
have
damn.
thought he would have been like one of the main characters as he is the heavyweight champion,
Right, right.
So it was just
But
like, where's the champ at?
right, but
And
that just shows
yeah,
how much the the situation has nothing to do with him. You know what I'm saying? He's just a prop to get to the main thing, which is what? Money. You know what I mean? Like, we're using him to get to the money. We don't need him to do nothing else but play his role. You know what I mean? So yeah. So he's not the main character at all. And then like I said, he don't give a damn about it. He just wants his payday. He already is like, I'm gonna beat this guy. There's no point in
my
me.
blackness could beat this guy.
Right, my blackness can beat this guy. There's no point in me working out. There's no point in me staying in shape. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna smoke my cigarettes. I'm going to eat my ice cream. I don't care.
And watch
And
TV.
it was evident, right? And watch TV. And it was evident because we get to the weigh-in. At the weigh-in, um, Coughlin, he weighs in, no problem. Then Roper comes in. He has on his robe. He gets on the scale, takes his robe off, and everybody is visibly shocked. They gasp because this
They're
man,
disgusted by him, honestly.
right? But this man has gained a whole lot of weight, and his stomach. He looks like he's a good 6 months pregnant.
It's the prosthetics are just. I mean, honestly, there is no such thing as good fat prosthetics. It just don't exist.
Right. Glenn says, I'm typing in, smoking a joint, eating ice cream. Right.
Sounds like a good time.
Right. So, yeah. So, he's just like, um, he gets upset with the crowd because the crowd is looking at him in disgust. And so he takes the mic and he's just like, I didn't give y'all all these championships and this how y'all gonna treat me. Well,
Mm-hmm.
y'all can kiss my fat ass, basically.
Because I mean,
So
honestly, he was still robbed of $10 million,
yes, yes, he
and
definitely
he's been
was.
putting his body on the line for all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yep.
he's being cheated out of money by his promoter, manager,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm with him. I wouldn't give a damn. Like, why do I have to
Yeah.
keep fighting and I'm not seeing my money? And this ain't the first. I mean, that fight wasn't the first time that happened to him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
So yeah, I would be pissed too. You know what I mean? So yeah. So we get done with the weigh-in or whatever, and so now they're leading. Now they're getting ready for the fight. We're at the fight, and um the trainer that's training Coughlin is just a racist asshole,
Right.
basically.
And he says, "I'm
And
not a racist. I'm an Englishman," and that made me laugh.
right.
But some of the lines that he says are just
Right.
like not they weren't even funny to me. They were just shocking.
They were shocking. Right,
Yeah,
right,
like
right.
some of the things he said I had never heard before,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I don't know for a fact, but this sounds like a slur against Turkish people. Like,
Right, right. And then Coughlin calls him out on it. He's just like, I'm tired of your racist ass,
but I was like,
basically so many
Coughlin, how are you
words.
going to call him out on this when you were beating up a black man while wearing a Confederate flag T-shirt, telling him to stay down, boy?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Well, I guess there's levels to it. He's tired of his level of
Right. It's
racism.
okay when he does it, right?
Right. He's tired. He's tired of the overt racism. That's what it
Right.
is. So, he calls him out on it again or whatever. Then they present him with white gloves, and he's like, really? But Jeff Goldblum is like, yeah, that's a nice touch. I like that. Use that or whatever. So again, he's supposed to
I
be
do appreciate
Irish.
that Jeff Goldblum, right? He's supposed to be Irish. That Jeff Goldblum spends so much of the movie reacting like just a normal person, like
Mm-hmm.
just like
Yeah.
okay, and
Right.
you know.
Right.
The only thing is, like, I was like, his character and storyline did not bear any weight on the movie at all.
No.
Like,
No.
you
I
could
feel
take him
like they
out
just
and it
wanted
would not
him
have
in a
changed a
movie.
thing. Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
exactly
they
what it
just
seemed
wanted
like.
him in a movie. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, who doesn't like to look at Jeff Goldblum? So I get it. But yeah, he was not needed. He was not needed one way or other. but but yeah, he so then he ends up walking out. Now again, he's supposed to be Irish. So they have him walking out with two leprechauns.
Two little people dressed up as leprechauns.
Exactly.
And there's a
Exactly.
line about them later that really just, I was like, that Jeff Goldblum says. I was like,
Mm.
I I can't repeat this. And it's
Yeah.
like a throwaway line,
Mm-hmm.
but it
Yeah.
was, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite a few of them in here. So yeah, so they walk out to that or whatever, and um they get into the ring. Now it's time for Roper to walk out. Where's Roper? Where's Roper? Where's Roper? Um Glenn says, what about the bro the bro him?
Yeah, we didn't really talk about Marvin Shabazz and
Yeah.
Hassan El Rukin. So that's Jamie Foxx as Hassan, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Michael Jace as Marvin Shabazz. Although he reminded me of, oh gosh, what's his name? Robin. This guy he's played in a lot of stuff actually. But like one of the roles I remember him most for was in was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the last season. But
Uh-huh.
Shabazz wants to fight him really, really badly.
Right. And he's the number one contender, and rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? Um He was supposed to be the next one up. He was supposed to be the next one up, but I get why he wasn't the next one up as well. But he couldn't tell him that reason why he wasn't the next one up, you know. Um,
It would
but
give the
I
whole
get
game
because
away.
yeah, yeah, and it wouldn't have sold. It wouldn't have sold, especially how the other um how the other fight performed. It wouldn't have sold. Like again, niggas fight niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like
I mean,
it
I get
wouldn't.
that. In the universe of the movie, yeah.
Yeah, right. So um, but yeah, so they're waiting for Roper or whatever. Roper is in his room in the back watching Dolomite.
That's his inspiration movie.
That's his inspiration movie, and he's like, I'm not leaving till I see my part, you know. So they're still waiting. Conklin is on in the ring and he starts, you know, hopping around, talking about he's scared, where's he at, blah blah blah. So somebody turns off Roper's TV, and that's what
His
got him mad.
coach.
Yeah, the coach. The coach turned it off, and that's what got him mad. So now he's ready to go. So he comes out down. This is my favorite part of the movie. He comes out and he has Method Man rapping.
Hmm. That was,
And
I was like, I had the whole like, Tiffany, New York, Beyonce, but Method Man,
right. Yep. And he's rapping Bring the Pain.
hmm
So that was like
And
my
then,
favorite part of the movie. I had never
young
seen
Method Man, and like, there are like several points where he looks directly into the camera, which is something you're not
Mhm.
supposed to do.
At all.
But
But
it
you know,
was so funny to me. He
Method Man
probably was
wasn't the
like,
actor back then. He was
exactly.
Wu Tang back then, you know.
Yeah.
So he didn't care, he didn't give a damn. I'm looking in his camera, you know.
Yeah.
So but yeah. And wish a motherfucker would say something to him for looking into the camera. Like, oh, so we're just gonna take this one take and we're just gonna use what we got.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So so he walks out with Method Man singing Bring the Pain, and he gets into the ring. You know, people are still like shocked that he's in the shape that he's in.
Oh, and he
You
has
know,
black gloves.
yes, he has black gloves, so it's black gloves fighting white gloves. You know, so then they meet up with the referee and they're about to start the fight. They end up exchanging words to where they're about to fight before the fight, and the referee's like, no, wait until it's time to fight. So they ended up hitting gloves, and then they start fighting. And like you said earlier, the fight lasts 27 seconds. Roper knocks out Conklin.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are
Knocks
pissed.
him out. Right.
Yeah, a lot of people are pissed. Before this happens, excuse me, um, Jeff Goldblum's character, oh shoot, where'd it go? Kane, he ends up telling the Reverend that he signed Conklin. So he's just like, oh, okay. You
Yeah,
know,
because the
you
whole
thinking that that's
time,
a good
like,
idea?
the whole time, like, he's been warned because he actually took the job from Julio, which was Cheech Marin's character, who was the PR rep for Reverend Sultan, and so he got fired when they brought in Martin Kane, Jeff Goldblum's character.
Hmm.
And he tells him, he finds him later on. Julio finds Martin later on. He's like, people aren't really happy with Reverend Sultan's leadership, whatever. You should take over, and you can manage all these people, and then you can help me get my job back or whatever. So Martin is at least savvy enough to see the writing on the wall.
Hmm.
Like, I don't need to work for him much longer after this fight, because you know, the dude is a manipulator and like terrifying, like, and,
Right.
on purpose. So
Right. Right. So yeah, so he ends up so he tells him that before the fight, and then they have this 27-second fight. Coughlin gets knocked out. So now Jeff Jeff Goldblum's character, Kane, he's left to pick up his face off the floor because You just signed this guy who clearly is not a professional boxer.
Yeah. I was like, I hope you signed him for the music because.
Right, because you'll probably get more money out of that than his boxing
Mhm.
career. So, um, so yeah, so all the white people, all their hopes and dreams of a great white hope have gone down the drain.
It was
The
nothing but
little
hype.
kid, the little kid that was in a wheelchair that thought that he was
That he
going to be
made
able to
up.
walk again.
Because there
Right,
was that whole press conference where Martin got all these like this wheelbarrow of fan mail. You know, we got these letters because people just love him, just love Terry so much or whatever. And so he
right.
opens this one letter, this green sheet of paper, and he's reading about this kid who wrote him. He's like, "Oh, Terry, you're such an inspiration. I love you so much. If you win, I'm in a wheelchair. If you win, I'll even try walking again or whatever." And it was a blank sheet of paper.
A blank sheet of paper.
But
Right.
somehow
So
they
then
got
they
some
have this
kid in a
kid.
wheelchair to the fight.
Right, right, with the flags and his all his hopes of walking again are down the drain now. Darn. So yeah, so all the white people are mad, all the black people are happy.
And I
And
was
yeah.
even wondering, like, does that kid even really need a wheelchair? Or did they just hire like an actor? Because they're so like cynical with the things that they do.
Mhm.
I was expecting at some point for them to reveal that this kid didn't necessarily need a wheelchair or something.
I was thinking that the kid actually like they actually did find a kid,
Mhm.
you know, that
And just hired him for the evening.
yeah, just gave them tickets to come, to solidify this blank piece of paper. Because I mean he became this cultural phenomenon for the white race.
Mhm.
So so yeah. Yeah, so Roper ends up winning. White people are mad, black people are happy. And that's basically the end of the movie. It was a
It
big
ends at the dance
payday.
party
Yes, the after fight
very
part.
abruptly, right?
Yeah, the after fight part. Now, did you see the mid credit scene?
Well, he walked out of the stadium. He
Yeah.
walked out. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, so
with the two
Coughlin
different
walked out.
leprechauns.
Right, he walked out with the two leprechauns with his head down once everybody left the arena.
Because they left him on the mat and the lights
Yes,
were out.
yes, like they were gone. They already cleaned up and everything. Now before they left, right after the fight, Jamie Foxx and what was the guy's name?
Shaz,
Shabazz.
Shaz.
Yeah, and Jamie Foxx character, what was his name?
Jamie Foxx's character's name is.
Hassan.
They almost
Hassan.
never call him by his name at all. So
Right. So Hassan and Shabazz, they both enter the ring and they start, a scuffle. So Shabazz and Roper end up having a fight, and Shabazz, he he knocks out Roper.
mhm.
So when that happens or whatever, that's when the Rev is like, okay, we need to promote this right now. So that's a taste of what y'all gonna get in the next fight
He
between
does not miss
Shabazz
a
and
beat.
Roper. Right. Like it was planned, you know what I mean? So which I'm sure that fight will sell even more than the Great White Hope.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So the Hope was a bunch of hype and they lost. So with this being your first time watching the movie, what did you think?
I thought it was okay.
Just okay.
It's okay. I really
Mhm.
laughed out loud twice.
Okay.
And that was Jamie Foxx. There's one point where at the fight right before Shabazz and Jamie's character like get into the ring, they're challenging him again outside of the ring, talking or whatever. And Jamie says something, and then Shabazz goes on to talk. And you can see Jamie in the corner of the shot because somebody calls his name because there's this whole thing that he's been camera shy. He's no longer camera shy, and
Mhm.
somebody calls his name, whatever, and he starts posing like, and it was just very funny and like very like young Jamie Foxx. Like you could totally see him doing this on the TV show
Right,
that
right,
we had.
right.
That part made me laugh for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like I said earlier, the security guard that just broke out into dance.
Yeah, the
That shit
security
was
guard
great.
break. Yeah, it was totally random, but that did make me laugh. But the
Yeah,
rest of it, I was just like, it didn't really make me laugh, and I was in the mood.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
ready, you know. But it was
Right.
just like, okay, it was just okay. And then there were
Now I
just like
did
those
laugh.
lines that were like super shocking, and I was just like,
Yeah.
that's not funny to me. Like
Right,
shock
right,
humor may be funny for other people, and that's fine. But it just didn't. It just was just like took me out of it to me because I was like, oh my god, like because it was completely unexpected.
right. Like you couldn't imagine this was acceptable at one point, you know.
I
So,
don't imagine that it was acceptable. I'm pretty sure it was in there to be like shocking, humor or
right.
whatever.
But I think it's like even more shocking now in the climate that we're in now. I think it's like 10 times more shocking now.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, even with like some of the things that were happening in the movie, it would just felt like total like a out of field step. I was like, what? Because it was
Hmm.
just like offensive jokes about things that didn't matter to the movie at all.
Yeah.
Like throwaway lines or whatever. And I was just like, why did we say that? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Right, right.
And at least with Terry's coach, we get the whole thing that he's a racist. So he's gonna
Oh,
say
yeah.
these things,
Right,
you
right,
know.
right.
But when Jeff Goldblum says what he says about the little people who were dressed as leprechauns, I was like, what? And it seemed completely out of that character, you know.
Mm.
Considering his whole, even though he like sells out, his whole thing before that though was like trying to be this investigative reporter or whatever. So for him to make that comment like that, even at that point, even though he's like turned or whatever, I was just like, that was what? Where did that come from? Like he hadn't
Hmm.
displayed that kind of verbiage before, so I was like, oh, okay, all right. I don't know why we did that.
Right, right, right. Now, one thing I did laugh out loud at, um, was when they were talking about the broham.
Yeah, that was funny. That was
Yeah.
funny. The Merlot broham, and
Right.
then what is a broham? All that stuff, and then like, well, because when Shabazz and Jamie like crash Reverend Sultan's like little house, they come in there, guns blazing or whatever,
Hmm.
and Reverend Sultan eventually gets a hold of the situation, and he promises, he's like, we'll get you a Merlot. We'll get you another Merlot Broham. He's like, I don't want another Merlot Broham.
Right. He promised him another, but what killed me was that he promised him another broham. So I looked up the broham, right?
Mm-hmm.
This movie came out in 96. They stopped making brohams in 92. So for you to offer him a car that's been out of production for 4 years,
A custom one at
a
that.
custom one with fully loaded, I'm like, no. Why are you trying to bribe me with another broham? I already got a broham. Give me something else. Like,
Give me something that's new off the lot.
right, like something in 1996. What, you really are trying to bribe me with a 4-year-old car at least?
That or
Like,
something
wow.
very classic. But,
It is the class car.
I mean,
Buy another
now, but
one.
at the time, it wasn't. You know.
Right, right. At the time it wasn't. So, he said, swear you had to Google it. I Googled it for the years. I knew what a broham was though.
Yeah. No, I
Did you know
don't
what a
know. I'm
broham
not
was?
like too into cars. I knew it was a car, but that was about
Uh,
it. But I'm not really
yeah,
into cars and stuff like that. So I don't really. If
yeah.
you pointed one out to me, I'd be like, oh, okay, sure. Like I'm
Right,
just
right,
not a
right.
car person, but I knew it was a car.
Right, right. My dad had a broham when I was a kid, so yeah. But but no, I looked up the years on it because I
Hmm.
was just like, I'm sure that was out of production by and it was. But but yeah. So uh let's see. Let me pull up some stats.
Yeah.
Can you see this movie being made again?
Mm, not really. No.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have to be it's so different that it would not. It would be a completely different movie.
Yeah. And apparently, from what I did research, was that the screen writer was a white guy, and
Mhm.
the script that he presented and what we saw was almost totally different.
I believe it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Let me see. Where's the Wikipedia? Okay.
Yeah, John Rhys Davies is the guy who played Terry's coach, and I was like, what? Because like he was Gimli in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Hmm. He's been in Gargoyles. He was in SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm pretty sure he's been in Star Wars. Like he's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah. Excuse me. Glenn says, I still want a fully loaded one. Merlot with a champagne color rag top. Ooh,
All right.
that is very specific.
Yeah.
All
He
right.
has a dream.
Right. So the fight that is the reference point was Mike Tyson's 1995 return fight versus Peter McNeely.
Oh.
Um the box office was only 8 million, but I don't know the budget.
Hmm.
Let's see. And then this was Samuel L. Jackson's first movie after Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I could tell that.
Yeah.
I got that feeling very fresh off of Pulp Fiction. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that wig they had on him. Jeez Louise.
The wig was terrible. The wig was terrible. And then they do reference Pulp Fiction in the movie too.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel
Um
like the only reason they even had that wig on him was to like give that illusion of Don King, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because there was
Because they
no reason to have him in that wig.
no, it made him like he didn't even touch it. Like why are we here? You know. But yeah, let's see.
Wow.
But yeah, the box office only made 8 million. Let me see what the budget, if I can find the budget.
Sure, let's see here. Yeah, the budget was so they made 8 million at the box office. How much was the budget, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow, and that was US and Canada 8 million. No, gross worldwide was 8,008,255. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, mm, um, looks like the budget was 16 million.
Wow. Yikes.
That's what it's looking like.
Yeah, it's saying inflation. Well, what I'm seeing here is inflation adjusted domestic box office for
Hmm.
16.2. So I guess if it were today, it would have made 16.2 in today's money, which is like double.
Okay.
Incredible.
Right. 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 Well, yeah, that's all I can find on the budget.
Yeah.
But yeah. Um let's see. I pretty much chose this film this week because I enjoyed it when I watched it back then. What drew me
Yeah.
to the film was the soundtrack because Bone Thugs
Bone
is
Thugs
on
and
the soundtrack.
Harmony.
Right? They're on the soundtrack. Their song is played in the end credits after the mid credit scene.
Hmm.
So their song is called Shoot 'Em Up, and their longtime collaborative producer, DJ Unique, he does a lot of production on this soundtrack. So he has to have his proteges, on the
Of
soundtrack
course.
as well, you know. But yeah, that's what drew me to the film was the
Yeah.
soundtrack. But I enjoyed it, and then I probably haven't seen it since I was a kid. So to watch it now, it was. Like I knew the gist of it, but it was kind of like watching it for the first time again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, how long ago was 1996?
right. We're not gonna count the
It's
years
not. We're
because
not
that
gonna.
was
It was a
that's gonna
while
give our
ago. Okay.
age. Yeah, we don't want to give our age because I'm forever young.
I'm 29, so I don't know. I don't know, man.
Right. And yeah, so that means we're
That
both
was so.
29.
This
I'll
movie
take
just.
that.
I was like 2 or 3 years old when this movie came
Right, right. They were playing it in my crib. That's for sure.
out. Yeah, like my thing is like they do have a really great cast. And another thing about it with Damon Wayans, like this is like I was just surprised because he's such, he's such a great comedic force and everything. For him
Mhm.
not to be in the movie for so long was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
It felt disjointed to me a lot of the time. Like they had some good ideas, but they couldn't make them cohesive.
Yeah.
Um, Um, so I would have enjoyed it more if you could make like a little bit more of a cohesive storyline with a little bit more consistent character. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be like a whole story. It doesn't need to be a drama. I just need to understand like why Terry is so against racism and wearing a
Mhm.
black t-shirt.
Right. And why is he so for homelessness? Like, why homelessness of all things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, we
and
get it. Homelessness is bad, but
no,
why is this what he's on? You know what I
if
mean?
he's like just a fake virtue signaler, cool. But
Right.
like, I'm not sure. Is the movie sure? I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know
Yeah.
because he seems sincere when he speaks, but then you have to
Mhm.
see with the Confederate T-shirt, and I'm like, what?
Right. 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 Yeah. I
Confused.
would think if he was more fake, then it would probably be something different every time that you talk to him. That would have been
Yeah.
funny.
Now they
Yeah.
did have that scene like right after that where they're asking him about how does he like Las Vegas. And he was like, "Oh, it's
Mm.
the most fake place." And he will not stay still in front of you. Like he's moving around.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Oh,
Right.
the way the women are exploited here is so terrible, whatever." And they're like, "But you were on Playboy." He was like, "Yeah, but I didn't like it."
Right.
Like if they had a little bit more of that, just a little bit, I would have liked
Right. Right. And then from the first scene that we saw him with the woman,
that. Mhm.
and now you're so for women's rights midway through the movie,
So,
it's like,
sir,
what
please,
changed?
right?
Right.
What's really
Again, he's
real?
not that bad. Right. He's like, what I'm doing ain't as bad as what y'all doing. There's levels to this. You know what I
I
mean?
guess.
So,
I guess that's
yeah.
the certification. We will never know.
Right. 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 Because I guess Vegas is full throttle, and he was like halfway. I don't know.
I don't
But
know. But he could not wait to go back to Cleveland. So I was like,
oh,
okay.
right, because Cleveland is the city where he come from. Yeah.
The people are real. All right,
Right.
sir.
Right. The real genuine people, you know.
Yeah.
So so yeah. I could see this movie being made in present day,
Mm-hmm.
but like you said, they would have to do something totally different with the script, and they would really have to drive in the point. But I could see them um bringing the point home in a successful way and making it relevant to today's times because it is speaking to something, you know what I
For
mean?
sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just like, first of all, they have a lot of characters and they don't really
They
integrate
don't
them
need
well
them.
together. Like, because like like I'm saying with Damon Wayans, and then also some other ones like John Lovitz, like, they just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Why? What happened to them?
Right, because like Jeff Goldblum, John Lovitz, Cheeks Marin, like those three right there didn't we didn't really need them.
Yeah, and John Lovitz and Cheech Marin are like known like very good comedians. So like, where are their
Right,
scenes?
right, right,
You
right,
know,
right.
I was ready for that, but I didn't
Right.
get it.
No, no, they didn't use them. They didn't utilize their talents like they should
Yeah,
have. You know. But like if they were to do a remake, those are not needed. So,
yeah.
um,
Just
so yeah. So our rating system is one, movie reel is trash AF. Two, it exists. Three, entertaining. 4 great, 5 a true classic. Maria, what say you?
I'm gonna say 2.
2.
Yeah,
Why 2?
because it wasn't that entertaining for me, right?
Okay.
I'm looking at the cast and everything, and I'm like, okay, this is like it's gonna be a good time, kind of a parody, like you were saying with what was on with the rock band? Uh,
Final. This is the final
Spot
time.
like Spinal Tap, whatever. Maybe a little sprinkling of social commentary or whatever.
Mhm.
But I literally laughed 2 times,
Yeah.
and there was a point where I was like, how much more do I have left?
Yeah.
I think you could definitely. It seems like they have too much in the cast, right? They can't put it together,
Hmm.
and then also like there are probably like a lot of scenes cut out.
Okay.
It seems like and I was just I wanted to like it more than I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna give it a 3. Um, it was entertaining. It was entertaining. But it did have a lot of flaws in it, like you pointed out. Like we both pointed out through this whole review. You know, to where if they were to try to revisit, they would have to iron out a lot of things.
Yeah,
You know,
and focus better on
right, right. We would need a clear tunnel vision to get to the
yes,
end. So
utilize your comedic actors, all of them, or just have less of them. You know.
right, right. You know, um, but yeah, for me it was entertaining. Then again, I'm here for the soundtrack, more
Yeah,
specifically for Bone. You
don't
know,
play with baby
yeah,
all day.
right. So so that is the Great White Hype. Next time, what will we be reviewing?
We're gonna be reviewing The Mummy, the classic 1999 adventure film starring
Okay.
Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
I cannot believe you haven't seen this movie.
No, I have
Oh,
not.
I'm so excited for you. You get to see it for the first time.
Okay.
But
What's it
it is
on?
on Hulu. It's on
Hulu.
Hulu.
Okay.
hmm Yeah, so you've got Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz. You'll recognize them immediately, I'm sure, once you see it. Um, but it is a solid movie. Like I've seen it pretty recently. I was like, this actually holds up.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
remember seeing it in the theater. Like
Yeah.
I liked it then. And then there are of course like some sequels that we do not need to get into. But this one
Right. Because wasn't The Rock's first acting gig the sequel?
was that his first
Wasn't he in
acting
the
gig?
sequel?
It wasn't. It was one of the sequels.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
his
it
was
was one of
actually
them.
supposed to be like a prequel to
Okay.
it. Yeah. And the special effects in that one are oh my god, they're so bad. That's the
Were they
Scorpion.
bad back then, or are they bad?
They were
Did they
bad
not?
back then. They were bad back
Oh,
then.
okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. So, Maria, where can we find you?
You can find me online everywhere as Valar More Dollars. That's VALAR Dollars, because all men must pay. And I'm also on a podcast called Nerdgasm More, where we're 5 Black women talking about nerdy and geeky and tech and anime and film and books and all kinds of stuff. We're going to be rebooting pretty soon, so you need to go ahead and get subscribed to the podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. We also have a Discord. You can find that on our Twitter too. Head over there because it's about to be popping. Where
Okay.
can they find you, Lizzie?
Do you have a release date?
I don't yet,
Okay.
but we have plans.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. You can find me everywhere at L_Ranelle. That's L_RANELLE. And I also have another podcast as well called The Ish We Talk. And we just talk about, various topics.
Which I'll talk
And we
about
talk a lot of ish. Well, this past weekend we did our first mukbang. And we talked about people owing us money.
Hmm.
So,
Like
like,
reparations.
no, we didn't go
Oh,
into reparations.
okay.
that's a different day.
People owing us money, but
Right. No, we mean like can I borrow such and such, and
Mm.
like do you have rules to people owing you money? What's the appropriate time to address it if they do owe you money? Like what's the most that you lent out? Did you get your money back? Will you want them to piece you back? Like just various things about people owing you money. So
Yeah,
it was an interesting topic.
for me, I don't lend. I just give it. If I have it, I'll just give it. I don't,
Yeah.
because I don't want to have to deal with that whole like, when you gonna be paying back? How much are you
Right.
gonna pay back? Are we doing this? I don't want to do all that. Just please just take it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's the most you've ever lent out?
Probably not more than 150 or so, but I don't lend, right?
Okay.
So I'm just giving what I can deal with not having.
Okay. So the most you've ever given out was
Mhm.
about 150.
Probably,
Okay.
you know, we're not
Okay.
doing big bucks over here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just hang out like that, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. We had a couple of guests. One of them was my sister, and that's you kind of sound like her because she doesn't lend out that much. And the most she's ever lent out was $50.
yeah,
Because she just like but then in the same breath she doesn't really get asked.
yeah,
I don't know what it is with people with no kids, but they feel like we have a lot of money.
we don't.
So I get asked a lot.
The reason we don't have kids is because we don't have a lot of money.
Okay, I am broke. So anybody that wants to borrow money from me, I'm broke. Okay, think
You
about
know,
that. I am broke.
my friends and I
Damn
like to say
everything else you see, I am broke.
we like to say we cash out the same $50 like every few weeks or whatever, you know.
Right. Like I I have a brother who asked me to borrow like $20 and then pay me back like in the next couple of days. And sometimes I just let it sit there until he asks me again. Cause I'm like, he's coming back to ask for it
Yeah.
again. So yeah.
Yeah, I just when people I will specifically say, "Hey, can I borrow blah blah blah,"
Hmm.
and I will pay you back this date. And
Right, right, right,
so
right, right.
I pay people back that date, or maybe the
Yeah.
next day if I've forgotten. But I always pay people back pretty, when I say I'm going to.
Right.
Now, if I'm saying I just need the money, I'm just gonna say, "Can I have?" right?
Okay.
You know,
Right. Make a clear distinction, you
right.
know. So
And I
but
have tried to pay people back, and they'd be like, "No,
yeah,
you can keep." I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay."
yeah. Yeah. But if I do that, then I say that from the jump. Like just here.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or I'll just pay for something, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, yeah, like my whole thing, the most I've ever lent out was about 1,000.
Hmm.
And I eventually got it back,
Hmm.
but I got it back out of an argument.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. So um the argument didn't have nothing to do with the money, but the argument was the demise of the relationship.
Hmm.
So I got my money back. So yeah.
Yeah. That's why I do, especially if I'm giving. Yeah, I just keep it. I don't want to have to deal with
Yeah. Yeah.
anything extra because we all need help. I mean, this economy is insane.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's we ain't knocking nobody because like
mhm.
everybody has had to ask whether you get a loan from the bank or a loan from a person. Everybody has needed a loan one time or another, so it is no judgment on that. It was just like how do you deal
Yeah,
with it? You know?
yeah. I just want to keep my relationships. So that's
Yeah,
another reason why I'm just like, no, you can just have it.
yeah. I'll
I'll ask you
yeah.
for $50 some other time. So don't worry about it.
Right. So, but yeah, um, yep. So that's what we talked about. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today to
Yes.
Roomies Review the Movies.
Leave a
And as
like, leave a comment, share it,
yes,
subscribe, click the bell, all that stuff.
right. Leave us a review as well. And then we will see you guys next time for the mummy.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.